what would you say your top pointers for someone newly diagnosed to consider when it comes to work?
We could be here all day, couldn't we? I think my sort of priority ones, is probably the first one I would say is don't panic, especially when you've just had your consultation. I think it's really hard to, know your MS yet. And I think it's, you're not quite sure how it's affected your work. You need to kind of piece together the puzzle a little bit. Don't do what I did and tell your manager about 2 hours after the consultation.
I did the same.
Big mistake. Oh, did you? I thought it was shock. And I think it was shock. And I think, look back now, and I really blurted it out. And I think it was a really massive mistake, because she did obviously, like any human being, ask questions about it that I couldn't answer. And I couldn't talk about adjustments at that point. I couldn't preempt anything. It was just literally a blurting out. And I just would have done it totally different again had I had the opportunity to do it again. So that's just number one. So I remember this job that I've got now in 2015, when I started, a few months after, I'd given a talk to the department about my MS. And I remember saying, I know MS is considered by law to be a disability, but I myself don't feel disabled. And I remember that, but 4 years later, I felt like I was. And so just to say, it's okay if you don't feel that way. It's really how you self-identify. Even though you may not be experiencing things that affect you, that are long-term, substantial, affect your daily activities, as the Equality Act says, then just be familiar with the law and what your employer's duty of care is, because I think it took me a long time to realise that. You can apply the Equality Act to lots and lots of different conditions, but actually there are 3 conditions named in the Act, and one of them is MS, because, a recognition of how it can fluctuate and progress. So it is something to think about. And also, don't rush into anything. I've heard of somebody within the community who handed in her resignation as soon as she found out about the diagnosis. And because she was going through her relapse, she thought this was it. And of course, we know relapses don't last forever, ordinarily. So, it was a bit of a moment where she really had both self-doubt, and also she felt like she'd really made a bad decision based on that. So yeah, I think those 3 things are probably the first 3 things I would talk about.
I did exactly the same thing of telling my manager, who took it well, but he was also taken aback by everything, and it was definitely that kind of shock. And if doing it again, I definitely wouldn't do it that way, and always recommend exactly what you just said there, in terms of researching your own rights, but also understanding your employer. It's going to be new to them as well. On the MS Society website, there's booklets that you can print out that's got information from your perspective, but also the employer's perspective, and that covers so much ground. So that type of stuff, in terms of researching, just take your time with it and learn that type of stuff, but also reaching out to other MSers if you want. I found that really useful, because there's so much jargon in the kind of legal side of things. So just talking to someone about real term type of things, I found really useful. Your employer, I think, generally will want you to carry on. So it's a two-way conversation. And personally speaking, I found it helpful to kind of nudge them in the right direction, rather than being kind of, this is my right. Because, they will want to be supporting you, but maybe ignorant to certain things as well. They were my general pointers, for sure.
As long as you don't need accommodations, it's up to you to decide when to share your diagnosis with your employer. Get to know your country's disability laws. Rights and protections vary from country to country. Your employer may know little about MS. Consult an occupational therapist if you need help determining and even communicating the reasonable accommodations you need to do your job. Thanks so much for watching. For more content on MS, from treatments and diagnosis to mobility and sex, check out the rest of MS 101.